You've spent more time researching products for your dog than you've spent shopping for yourself. Welcome to The Dog Who Asked for More, the podcast for dog parents navigating the messy, complicated parts of life with a dog so you can feel seen in something you've never been able to say out loud, walk away more confident in your decisions, and deepen your connection with the dog who asked you to show up differently. At some point, helping your dog can start to feel like a research project. You hear about a supplement from one person, a chew from somebody else, a training tool from a podcast, a recommendation in a Facebook group. And before long, you're trying to remember where you saved that link, what you already ordered, and whether any of this is actually helping. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you care. You want to make good decisions. You want to help your dog. You want to feel confident that you're doing what matters. But when every answer leads to 3 more options, it can start to feel like you're constantly second-guessing yourself. This conversation is about that, about trust, about clarity, and about what happens when supporting your dog starts to feel simpler. Michelle, before Shopdot Pet existed, what were you noticing about the way people were shopping for pet products that made you feel like something needed to change?
Before Shopdot Pet, essentially what I saw happening was a pet parent would interact with the pet care providers that they work with, the groomers, the dog trainers, the doggy daycares, and they would oftentimes ask them, what do you recommend? How can you help my pet? I'm dealing with a situation. Can you help me? And what I would oftentimes see is these pet care providers would have answers because they know a lot about the pet and they live, eat, and breathe the pet industry and know about a lot of products that they love and recommend. And what would happen is the pet care professional would say, I recommend these products. And then the pet parent would say, okay, where do I get that? I don't know. Go on Amazon or go in Chewy and good luck. Find the product and get what you need. And that was a huge gap that I saw between pet parents needing to find a solution for the problem that they were dealing with, and then the pet professional providing the solution, but there was a disconnect with how that transaction actually happened. And sometimes it didn't happen because it just wasn't a convenient thing for the pet parents to have to go and find the product at that point. That was what I was seeing, and that was the main reason why I started Shopdot.
Do you remember a specific moment where you realized this wasn't just a shopping problem, that it was actually making life harder for pet parents and professionals?
When I was doing this initially, I did a lot of just interviewing, not only for my own experiences, because if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a small business owner, you oftentimes create a company or create a product based on your own needs of what's missing in the market. And sometimes you can use that as a clouded judgment when you're going on that small business entrepreneurial path. To solve this problem, it's really a big undertaking, and it's not something you can really jump in lightly. So I actually did a ton of market research. Luckily, I live in Missoula, Montana, where everyone I know has a dog or a cat or multiple or all and chickens and like you name it, right? It's Montana. So I did a lot of research and asked a lot of people kind of how they found products. What did the product discovery journey look like for them as a pet parent? And it was very fragmented and it came from all over the place. There was just essential places that people would go, kind of what you think about of endless aisle shopping. And so there's like kind of these benefits, obviously, to the Chewies and the Amazons. Those serve a great purpose. They have just so many options and so many variety of products that you can choose from. The challenge, though, is if you're trying to find the right product for your dog or for your cat or for your pet, it can be really difficult to identify the right product because of what I call endless aisle fatigue of like, what do I actually get? Which is why people listen to your podcast, why they're on Facebook forums, why they ask their friends, why they ask their pet care professionals that they work with, what do they recommend? Because there are so many options out there and it's a very personal decision.
Yeah. And for a lot of people listening, supporting their dog or their cat or whatever their pet is, it can start to feel like a second job. A supplement from one place, a chew from somewhere else, a training tool from another website. Were you seeing that kind of experience? And what did that actually look like day to day for pet parents?
It was time consuming and it became a chore, not only finding the right product, finding the right brand, but then actually purchasing the product. And that's just extra time that frankly people don't have. And so that was a major thing. What's interesting is it's inconvenient across every single stakeholder, as I call it, within the customer journey. When I think about a customer journey, I think about the pet parent's journey, having this pet, needing a supplement or changing their food or maybe an enrichment toy. They're looking for the right one. To the pet care professional being kind of in the center of that. Sometimes they see that that is something that the pet needs. But then you have all of these brands, these products that could be a really great fit. And it's like, wow, where does that whole entire ecosystem and journey really become completed with getting the right product to the right parent via the pet care professional and with the right kind of brand and product? And so those are just things that I saw and started really thinking about it in the context of like the customer journey.
You mentioned that decision fatigue, product overwhelm. I think a lot more people are overwhelmed by all of these choices than they realize. But I think that there's a certain point that trying to do the right thing starts to become exhausting. What do you think?
Without a doubt. You want to do right by your pets. You see this with what happens during a recession. A lot of times pet parents would stop buying certain things and more expensive items, but what they don't sacrifice are the items that the pets need. Obviously, this is not my opinion. This is what you see in statistics, and this is why they oftentimes say that the pet industry is a little bit more recession proof than a lot of other industries. It's because that's something you don't want to sacrifice on, is the care and the longevity of the pet. I'm sure you've talked about it too in your podcast, is the humanization of pets. So you have people in general who are pushing further along having kids or not having kids, but instead really leaning into being a pet owner. So you're having this kind of convergence of what's happening with society and how people are choosing to live their lives, with how they're really thinking about their relationship with their pets and how long they want their pets to live. And so you're seeing that across the board within the entire pet industry. And that means that you want the best care and also the best products and the right products for your pet. That's an interesting thing that we're seeing right now within the industry.
Somebody said this at Global, and it has stuck with me ever since. They said, dogs are the new kids and cats are the new dogs.
Without a doubt.
It just made me, it made me laugh because it's so true. The
It's
cats
so
are
true.
replacing the family dog, but the dog is actually the child now, which it is so true. But it was so funny to hear somebody say that out loud, because we really do everything we can to raise our dogs well and give them the best things. It's just like making sure we feed a child, making sure we clothe a child, making sure they get the best education or training.
It's kind of like how parents look at their children as a reflection of them. It's just like inherent. This is just human nature. And as you have pets and animals kind of taking the place of children, their pets become a reflection of the pet parent. And so they want to make sure that they're also doing the right things, that their coat is looking good and they're looking healthy and they're happy and like all of those things. So you go from like the same thing with you that happens with a human child. You're caring for their physical needs. And that's an important component of making sure that they're happy and that they're healthy and their coat's healthy. But then it also involves the emotional and mental happiness and the needs of the animal. Same thing as a parent does with a child. You're not just making sure that they're fed and there's a roof over their heads. You want to make sure, are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Are you having a great childhood, right? Are you going to reflect back in your memories as an adult and not have that much trauma? This is what a parent does with a human child. And inherently, when the pet also takes a place as a human child, those emotions of what you want as a parent don't change. That's human nature of a caretaker. And so those are being kind of transferred and embodied into the relationship of a pet parent and their pet.
Let's talk a little bit about that human mental emotional side, because when a pet parent is constantly piecing together support for their dog or cat from 10 or 15 different places, let's talk about the impact that can have on their confidence and their consistency in picking and choosing the right products for their pets.
It is really interesting because what I see, especially if they don't have help or support, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to sometimes to raise a pet. And so it involves all the kind of the pet care providers also that interact with that pet. When I don't see a pet parent kind of leaning into that relationship as much, it becomes just a lot of trial and error, buying a lot of things and just seeing what works. And it really prolongs the situation that the pet may be in. Recently, I was reading this article about even getting the right water feeder for their pet. Something was happening with the water feeder and causing some issues for the pet. And had they got the right product and the right recommendation, that pet wouldn't have suffered from having some kidney issues. And the thing about it too is same thing like a baby, a pet can't tell you in words when they're unhappy. You can kind of read into it when they're in pain, when you're just utilizing these indicators that something needs to change, whatever the situation is. And so when you're seeing as a pet parent day in and day out that your dog is not drinking as much water or is lethargic or sleeping a lot, these are why you have all these trackers that are really have become very popular. When you're out at work, what's happening with your pet at home? What are some changes in their habits or behaviors that can maybe lead to something that you need to do or change? And I think because they can't communicate that, I think a pet parent can be more worried and anxious about a particular situation that they're dealing with and not getting the right help from a trusted pet care professional or the right product that could really lead and exaggerate and prolong the situation that they're in.
When you started talking to pet parents about all of this, the shopping fatigue, the ease of finding products, making sure that they have the right products, what surprised you the most? And what made you want to do something about it?
What surprised me the most was they wanted to solve the problem as quickly as possible. People ask me for advice all the time because I've just been in the industry and I know so many amazing products and brands. They just want to solve the problem and they will essentially do anything you tell them. You need to buy these items and they would go and buy them. They're not like, I'm going to shop around. It's funny. I actually asked one of my friends who's a dog trainer. I asked her for her own stuff. She's constantly shopping and looking for different deals or different things like that. But when it came to her pets, she just went and made the purchase without even thinking. Obviously, I'm not surprised because I started a whole company around the fact that pet parent is going to rely on the trust and the guidance from the pet care professional. And Shopdot is a vehicle that allows them to actually build a storefront and curate the products they recommend and enable the transaction all in one place. But that trust advantage and trust factor was such a strong one between pet parents and the pet care professional.
One thing that I personally experience, but I also see a lot with pet parents that I work with or people that reach out because they've been listening to the show, is the feeling that they have to do everything perfectly. How does Shopdot Pet simplify decisions without making people feel pressured to do everything at once?
Well, what Shopdot Pet does is it puts the curation into the hands of the pet care professional. So if you're a groomer or you're a dog trainer, you build your storefront through Shopdot, and we have hundreds of pet brands and thousands of great trusted products within Shopdot. And those pet care professionals can pick and choose what they love and recommend and what they have tried as well and really stake their reputation on, so to speak. And they have this personalized, curated storefront that they can then share to a pet parents like, these are my recommendations. Here's where you can buy them. I've already put them in one place and you can literally add to cart and check out all in one place. I think that that's a confidence that as a pet parent you have because there is one place that you know that M. Breslin kind of specifically curated and chose every single product into her storefront. A dog groomer, same thing, a doggy daycare, another dog trainer, and people have their preferences and what they have used. So what's nice about Shopdot is it's not this giant marketplace. Actually, at the end of the day, the end customer doesn't know it's a Shopdot powered store. We are kind of a behind the scene tool that these pet care professionals can use to actually help their pet parents really transact and purchase the products they love and recommend.
What starts to change for pet parents when somebody finally has a system and it feels simpler? Not necessarily for the dog, but for the person that's trying to support the dog.
When you feel like you have the right tools in place to really take care of your dog or take care of your pet, it kind of makes you more relaxed and it allows you to feel good that, okay, they are in a good place. They're happy. They're eating the right food, consuming the right supplements, playing with toys that I can visually see that they are happier about. And you can see a change in their mood. It allows you to interact with your pet in possibly a different way, where you're not interacting with them in like, okay, wow, I need to help fix this problem, to really let's just spend time together. It just kind of changes the dynamic of how you interact with your pets once you have the right tools in place and once you feel confident in their kind of physical and emotional or mental state.
You've already answered my next question there. I was literally about to ask you what the bigger problem you were trying to solve around beyond giving people one simple place to shop. And it's that time together,
Right.
trying to make that quality of life with pets so much better and not have to worry about where do we find this supplement? What was that code that I needed to use? Why do I have to make 15 different purchases and pay for shipping from 15 different places? You really
Right.
took Shopdot Pet and wrapped up a huge solution for pet parents that actually gives them time, confidence, and a better understanding of what actually works for their pet at the same time. So
Yeah.
well done to
Thanks,
you.
Sam. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I want to pause for something I call answering the ask. This is a moment where we shift out of trying to fix things and into understanding what's actually going on. Because a lot of the time, the hardest part isn't doing more, it's realizing what actually might be missing. Can you walk me through a moment where someone was struggling to support their dog and the shift didn't come from buying more things, but finally having more clarity about what was actually needed and what changed once that clicked, not just for the dog, but for the person as well?
One of my employees, she just got a new puppy. Now the pup is no longer a puppy. It's about 2 years old now. And initially she was bringing the dog into the office, especially when they're little. You got to walk them more frequently. They're not quite trained yet and all that stuff. And she made that transition where it's like, okay, you're getting really big now. You're now potty trained. You need to be at home. And she was noticing that the dog was just chewing everything up and that never happened before. And just was real. And this dog was so chill and so mellow, such a people person. And she was trying to figure out like what was going on. She was trying to spend more time with the dog. When she was at work, she would try to go home during lunch and do all those things. And just like nothing was really working. And so it was really, really interesting. She stumbled upon accidentally getting a second dog. And so that was a really interesting thing. Essentially, the dog was just really, really lonely. The dog spent a lot of time with her brothers and sisters, with the breeder. Initially, with the transition, spent a lot of time with humans, and then being home alone, even though she was trying to spend as much time with the dog as possible. But by having a second dog, it really solved all of those things. So it wasn't about buying another item. And this is times, I'm sure you've heard this a lot from clients or people that you work with, that sometimes they just need companionship on a regular basis.
Sometimes the solution is right in front of our eyes and we don't even see it. I love
Right.
that worked out for your staff member and that the second dog was the right fit for the first dog. What an incredible
I know, because
story.
you don't know.
No, you don't. If
Yeah.
someone listening feels like they're constantly researching, buying, trying things out, and then second guessing themselves, what would you want them to sit with after this conversation?
I would say to lean in to the pet care professionals that you work with, whether it's a groomer or the doggy daycare or even a trainer that you haven't chatted with in a while. The thing about pet care professionals is they love pets, obviously. They want to help you so much with solving your problem and just creating a best environment for you and your pet. And they can talk to you all day about things that they love and recommend. And a lot of times they do it and don't get paid because they've taken something that they find so much joy in and created a profession around. And that's just why being in the industry is just so fun, because you're just dealing with so many passionate people. And so I would definitely lean into their expertise, because they probably have seen it with other pet parents or with themselves as well. And they can provide some really great guidance. Our goal for ShopDot is to enable as many of these pet care professionals to build their own storefronts. It's free to create an account and for them to be able to curate their own products to make it easier for the pet parent to shop. I know, you have a storefront, which is awesome. At this point, hundreds of pet businesses have them, but we are a newer company. And so our goal is to enable them to be able to curate their own store, but also it's a way for these businesses to make incremental revenue. And that's a big thing too is they're the one doing the work of making the recommendation and the curation. If they could kind of take that a step further and actually make revenue off of that, they're a small business. So what I love about ShopDot is our goal is to support small business owners.
I love that too. I love it so much. And that is exactly why I joined Shop.Pet. Pet. Could you tell everyone how they can connect with you and find Shop.Pet? Pet?
So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. My handle is Michelle-Huey, and I'm sure you can list it in the podcast. You can also reach out to us at info@shop.app.com and go to our website, which is shop.pet.com. So if you have any more information, need more information on ShopDot, feel free to go there or reach out to us. You can also find us on our Instagram, which is at shop.app. So definitely follow our Instagram. We're constantly profiling our amazing pet professionals that are building storefronts for ShopDot. We have amazing, fantastic brands that are on our platform as well. Some of the brands that you love and recommend, from Two Hounds, Westpaw, Blue Nine. These are brands I know that you guys love. The awesome thing about the platform is that we get to work directly with people who are passionate about pet products, pet care, all around the gamut. And it's all kind of brought together into one platform.
One thing that stayed with me from this conversation is that most pet parents aren't struggling because they don't care. They're struggling because they care enough to keep looking, keep researching, keep comparing, keep trying to find the thing that might help. And sometimes all of those options can make it harder to trust yourself. You've been trying. That part isn't wrong. Sometimes what changes isn't finding more information. It's finding people you trust and allowing yourself to stop carrying the whole decision by yourself. If you're looking for some of the products I personally use and recommend, you can visit my Shop.Pet storefront linked in the show notes. And if you're a trainer, groomer, pet sitter, nutrition professional, daycare owner, influencer, or any other pet professional who finds yourself recommending pet products all the time, I've also included a link where you can create your own free Shop.Pet storefront and start organizing those recommendations all in one place. So be kind, spread joy, and remember, supporting your dog shouldn't require carrying every decision alone.